All right, thanks for tuning in to more NASCAR coverage on Prime Sports Network as we talk about Darlington coming up on Sunday. We'll have our preview and picks a little bit later on, so a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of gambling. We like to talk about gambling now because we can. A lot of states are going to have that free-flowing within a very short period of time. But we also like to call it handicapping, and we'll be doing that a little bit later on. Yeah. But we'll also talk about the car of tomorrow, which is really 2022. So the car came out on Wednesday, which was yesterday. We're recording the show on Thursday. We'll talk about that in a few minutes after we recap last week's race. CJ Radoon is with us, right, CJ?
I am here.
So
I can see you, but you can't see me.
We'll see CJ in a few minutes. But the way our technology is right now, just Eric, at this point in time, the other video is so we can take a look at what happened at last week's race and also, of course, the 2022 car. Let's get started, Eric, by taking a look at what happened, I think, in the most important, well, one of the most important parts of the race, really. There were two big parts, this one and then the last 15 laps. But let's start here, Eric, because this is when that happens. Okay? So now I am thinking, because look who's in first place. Right there. Well, let's fast forward here a little bit. So it's Chris Buescher, first place. And I'm going, this is awesome because I have $250 on Chris Buescher at 125 to 1 to win the race. I'm going, the caution comes out. He comes out first possibly, and you never know. But NASCAR decided they were going to let everybody pit. And then it's so obvious what they do is that they wait for Buescher to come in last. And then they go, hey, wait. Don't put the caution out just yet, because then it looks too purposeful. Let's give it a couple of extra laps. Then we'll throw the caution flag, which is exactly what they did. It was talked about because all we ask for in any sport is consistency when it comes to officiating and the rules and so forth. And it just didn't look like they were consistent on Sunday.
Oh, they purposely did that. They almost hear in their reasoning was, hey, we don't think it would be fair if we threw the caution and handed the win to Buescher and he wasn't there all day. So let's just leave the green out. Let's wait till he pits and then let's throw it. And their reasoning, I get it. I get both sides. But then you say it's a safety violation. Well, what's the difference? Either don't throw it at all at that point, because I don't remember exactly how many laps, but they ran several laps with it sitting
I think about
there.
14.
So that's what I thought.
Actually, CJ, wasn't it like Buescher alone had about 14 laps that he was waiting on, I think?
Yeah, he was out there for quite a while. It was at least 14. It may have even been longer than that. It was just ridiculous that they were waiting to throw the caution on that. I mean, part of racing comes down to luck and the timing and what you're able to do, whether it's stretch your fuel load off cycle. So I feel like they should have been rewarded for that. The tire was not in an unsafe position. I mean, something so wildly crazy would have had to have happened for that to actually be a safety issue, in my opinion, at that point.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I agree. Either throw the caution immediately and say, "No, that's a safety violation. Let's throw it," or if you're going to wait, just don't throw it at all. Like if I was Buescher, I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. It's either is it a safety violation or is it not a safety violation? If it is a safety violation, then all those laps that I'm pounding the pavement leading, that's a safety violation. That tire's sitting out there." So again, like I said, I get it. He fluked his way there, but we've seen it happen before. So
it happens all the time, which is why if you're not,
that's why we just want consistency.
That's it. And if you're not going to do it this way, okay, well now we know 100% of the time, then don't do that. Then no more freak. And you know what? I don't mind this as long as they also use this for other rules that we've often talked about, which fluke certain drivers into victory. The more you can not fluke drivers into victory, I'm all for it, but just be consistent.
Well, look at its strategy too, because at this point, what's the point of having? You might as well do what ARCA is doing right now. Do controlled pit stops like we did in Bristol. You can't pit until this caution comes out, and this is the only time you can pit, because that's what you're getting to now. Is basically you're taking the strategy out. And if I was a team, I'd work in that gray area and be like, hey, if my teammate's 2 laps down, he's not having a good day, then, hey, say if you're Hendrick, hey, I'm William Byron's a couple laps off. Hey, Alex Bowman, stay out long. I'm going to purposely let my tire go in the grass and let's dare them to throw the. So there's some gray areas I think they just opened Pandora's box up to, because I don't think this is going to go away until controlled pit stops. Maybe. I mean, that's just something that yes, it was entirely flukish, but if it's a safety violation for it being there, you have to instantly throw the caution. And it doesn't make sense that they didn't, if that's the reasoning.
Do you think if that was a star driver that was in Chris Buescher's place, that they would have went ahead and thrown the caution?
100%. 100%. If that was a Danica Patrick, Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson, like back in the day, one of those guys, and they 100% would have thrown the caution. I think it's just because it was Chris Buescher and Chase Elliott. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's fast forward now. Now this was all crazy stuff. Also, look at this. 15 laps to go. So let's run this now, and we're gonna get a caution here, as you see there. Okay. So this was Stenhouse. First time he gets caught up. This was his own doing, I think, right? And all right, so we get the caution, and there were 15 laps to go. By the way, check here at the bottom of the screen if you can see it. It's at 2:53:40. Okay, so it took 6.5 minutes and 5 laps to restart. So we're going to go to right here, right about here. They're getting ready to restart. Okay, so we got 5, which this is about normal. In about 5 laps, what are you going to do? 6.5 minutes. Again, I think that's about normal. Would you say that's about normal? 5 laps, 6.5 minutes?
Yeah, I'd say that's about normal. Okay. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was a spin. I would have liked it to be a little bit quicker, but
yeah, that's true.
5 laps in a mile and a half, sure. That's about right.
So here's the restart. And within a couple of seconds here, we are going to get another wreck. This is the Christopher Bell Stenhouse wreck. So they don't even go a lap.
Nope.
And we're going to get the wreck here. There it is. And Stenhouse goes, oh, come on, man. Not my day. And there you go. Now, we wait almost 12 minutes and 8 more laps before they restart. So what basically happened is with 15 laps to go, everything was running smoothly, 15 laps to go, they eliminate 13 of the last 15 laps on cautions and don't start the last restart until a green-white checker. Come on, you can't do that.
This has been my gripe with racing for years. It's like you get to the point, it's time to pick a winner, and it takes forever. Like the first half of the race, 70-80% is clean, just stage cautions, nothing's really going on, pure racing, and then it just takes forever. It's agonizing. I mean, look at that. That's 18 minutes just between those 2 cautions just to get to overtime. It reminds me, and this comes ironically enough from my basketball. I used to play basketball. That you get with 2 minutes to go in a game, and it's foul, free throw.
It's like watching college basketball with all the timeouts and the fouls.
Yeah, that's what that race reminded me. It's like it gets to a point as or somebody covered. It's like, will this race just end? Like, I'm done with it. I am just done with it. And 18 minutes is way too long.
Look, for me, because I had both of those drivers, first and second. Hey, man, keep running those laps, baby. Yeah, just keep running them. I don't care. This is money for me. And these are also my 2 favorite drivers. Keep it going. But I can see if I'm Larson or even the guys with even someone like Harvick who's sitting back there with really fresh tires going, come on, man, what are you doing? Let's get this thing rolling so I have a chance to win this race. I don't know, CJ. I don't get why they just, at the end of races, why they can't have a rule to red light and stop everything.
Yeah, I think they've red lighted a lot of races in the past, and I'm not sure why they did it on this one. Eric called it precisely correct in the last time. The first Ricky Stenhouse spin, it was a spin, so you probably could have gotten that 5 laps down to maybe 3, and gotten going again, would have been great. This one, you had damage, you had cars that were leaking fluids. You got to make sure the track is clean. So all the reasons in the world to stop them on the back stretch and let them sit there while the track cleans up. And you've got guys on different strategies like Kevin Harvick, who's with 4 tires, Larson itching to get back up there. Give them the chance to be able to race it. I feel like they gave, Busch the only, I can't remember if Blaney was on old tires or not, but it feels like they gave Busch the shortest amount of time possible.
They'll have to hold them off. Yeah.
If it would have been 8 to 10 laps, he would have been eaten alive if you watched the times throughout the rest of the day. So I feel like they were just eating that down, and we've seen it done at Dover. I think we've seen it done on various other tracks. Just stop them. If it happens in the last 10 laps or whatever, just stop them. And if you get an overtime, you get an overtime, but don't manufacture one by letting them circle around under caution. Nobody likes that.
And then we see the restart here as Kyle Larson is just way too aggressive. And by the way, as you guys know, the last couple of weeks, because I've cried my eyes out about being first and second until the last caution.
Again.
So here I am again, first and second on the last caution. And I'm going, come on, now I got 2 laps to go. This can't possibly screw me again. And then within like a quarter of a lap, one of my drivers goes. And I'm going, oh, here we go. Yep. I'm down to one driver again with a whole lap and a half left. Kyle's not going to hold him off. I know it. But I got lucky finally. I just thought my luck was once again going to go down the drain. But here, Larson just, I don't know what, he was just way too aggressive. Right, Eric?
He admitted that. He said that nobody all day starting in row 2 has ever got to the lead. And he thought his plan would be to push Blaney and just push him out there where just those 2 are going to battle for the win. I mean, Larson, let's be honest, had the fastest car all day. I mean, that he deserved if you go on pace to win. So he gambled. I think that's a difference when you already have a win. You can gamble and do something like that, and it just didn't work out. But I think you got to go back to the debate here soon is, hey, if these races ended on regulation, if you throw overtime out, how many bets would you get right this season that now you've got overtime? Look, Kyle Busch still won. He was still leading there. But if you're somebody like Blaney, you're second, coming at the scheduled distance, you finish second, but you go to overtime, you get wrecked, and it was like 21st or 22nd or something.
Oh,
and just think of that's where IndyCar guys say that the reason these racing's pure. If it's the Indy 500, we literally end at 500 miles. We're not going over. So, pitch strategy, everything you already know going in, where you get flukes sometimes like this. So, it definitely alters it. Kyle Busch still won, but Blaney, poor guy was just sitting there minding his own business and gets run up the track into the wall. And I think he was 21st, somewhere like that. Yeah. So second to 21st, just that quick.
CJ, do you think Kevin Harvick wins the race? And I stopped it right here on purpose. If Brad Keselowski doesn't cut him off, because right here he's cutting him off just before the last lap, just before they hit the line there with the last lap.
That is an interesting question that I didn't consider, but you're probably right. Yeah, it definitely would have been a heck of a lot closer. I didn't notice that until you just paused it there, but that's a really good observation. Harvick had, he was coming, and like I was alluding to before, if you would have let it go under green, the fresh tires all day were worth almost a second, if not more, per lap. And he had a full head of steam there. Certainly, if he would have had more laps to wind it up, he probably would have been further ahead. But yeah, you're right. He gets the block there.
All right. Now, let's take a look at the car of 2022. Eric?
Is this the Camaro? Or is it the car of today?
Yeah, what is it? What is this called now?
The next gen is what it's now. The next gen, the from the Pixar Cars movies that my kids watch. Yeah, the next gen.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what do we know about these cars now? Because bottom line is the look. The look is good, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it looks like they were saying it's puts the stock back in a stock car. that looks like a Ford Mustang. The Camaro looks like a Camaro. It's not, as Denny Hamlin said, the same car with just the logo slapped on it. That's a legit Ford, and you got a legit Chevy and a legit Toyota, and it's back to manufacturers making their own gain. I like that the splitter, it's there, but it's small. It's not going to make a difference, and the car's raised up a few inches in the front, so you're not going to have, in theory, until we start testing it more, that dirty air behind, because it's going underneath the car. It's not going over top the car and on the car behind
Terrific.
it. So it's supposed to help aerodynamically. It's supposed to help a lot. It said the racing should be better, but my only concern is it's May 6th, and those are the only 3 of them out there. We haven't tested. Here's the other factor. Teams, they build the cars. It's not like you're giving them. They're giving them to them in pieces, and you build them yourself. And you're only allowed 7 cars.
Here's your instructions.
For a year.
So we're gonna ship the parts to you, and you gotta.
That's exactly what they're doing. So wouldn't that be weird? So this is where it could get, as you get the season going. If you don't look like a championship guy, how much does your team start focusing on, like, hey, I got to build this car. Let me look in the gray area here and try to find an advantage for next year instead of let's punt this year. We're not even going to win the championship. But, yeah, you've got to assemble it how you're given. But it's also manufacturer specific. They're going to test it. You're only allowed 7 cars per season. So that's going to help maybe the parity, because you're not going to have these big teams have a new car for every race, it seems.
So what happens if you run out of cars?
You could repair them. That's why they come in the parts. Okay. You just order new parts. That car could race on every style of track. So it's not like, hey, I need a road course car.
Good.
I need a super speed. So that's why I said they're capped at 7.
That's cool.
It's just 7 cars.
Right.
So I like it. The only thing that I hope they don't change, and I think most of the fan base said the same thing, leave the number alone. Don't move the number front or back like they did the All-Star race, like that Ford one right there. There's talks of potentially having the number there and the sponsor behind it, or the Ford be the sponsor and the number be behind that. So that's really the only thing now left is where they do with the number.
Okay. CJ?
It's going to be interesting. I think next year it's all going to come down to the engine because, like Eric said, all they're doing is assembling the pieces that they buy. You're not allowed to change them after you buy them. It's just assembling them and putting them together, and you've only got so many of them. So the engine becomes the area of focus at this point. So I think you're going to see the teams that have success next year, number one, are the ones that have the money to be able to figure out what the right setups are right out of the box. But anyone's going to be putting their initial development dollars into engines and making sure that they have more horsepower. Overall, I think it's good. I think the cars look better. I think they'll look better on the track. They're not going to look sideways on the track like they have to try to stick that rear corner out to be able to get some downforce on the car. That they're not going to be able to do that with this one. So it'll be interesting, and I truly think it's going to come down to the engine builders.
I would have liked to. Somewhere in the marketing department, they missed out on a chance. Where what they should have said sometime a couple of years ago is, hey, I tell you what, like if I'm a salesman, I go into the office and I go, hey, I want to put into this package for the sponsors that if whoever is first, second, and third, or let's just say the top 4 guys who finish the season, those sponsors get to be the sponsors on when we unveil the car, so we could actually see what it would look like. With the sponsor, in the car, and this way, let's say Chase Elliott would be out there with his color scheme with the new car, so we can see exactly what it would look like. So,
yeah, I agree. I'm curious your thoughts, CJ. But when I first look at all 3 of them, nothing against Toyota. So any Toyota fans or Toyota listening, but does it not look like Chevrolet and Ford are like, hey, there's the race cars and there's Toyota's the pace car? Does it just look like, hey, that doesn't look sporty at all? It looks like my grandma just rolled up in her car or something. And it just, I don't know, until maybe like Greg's saying, until they're painted, it just looks like Chevy and Ford look like a race car, and Toyota's right there. It just to me looks like a pace car. It doesn't look like a race car. It looks like a pace car, but that's by design too.
exact same thought as I was going through the press release and looking at the pictures. I'm like, what the heck? Toyota's got some work to do here.
Yeah. All right. Enough of that. And let me get out of here at the same time. Let me click that and bring CJ back in whenever he's ready to pop back in. There he is, because we are now going to take a look at this week's race. And just getting back to how we ended it last week, isn't this like my third or fourth straight win?
Third, I think. Or third in 4 weeks. I think, yeah, you got Keselowski and
Bowman, Kyle Busch.
Yep.
Okay. That's awesome. But I'm still like 300 points back. Now you know how bad things were 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. You're coming out of that hole. Remember I told you that you got some good tracks here, guys, coming up.
Yeah. So you got to be patient, right? That's all. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Also, I made a switch. Daniel Suarez finished 11th, almost got into the top 10. And I said, I know it was back-to-back bad races from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Just got a bad feeling that maybe Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is kind of reached the limit. And I just really like the way Daniel Suarez is going right now. So what did you guys think about me switching from Suarez, from Stenhouse to Suarez?
I was a little bit surprised, but I think after I thought about it for a minute, I think you made the right call. It's a very streaky sport, and I think Stenhouse has got the momentum going away from him, and Suarez has got it right behind his back where he needs it.
Eric?
Yeah, I agree. I thought about picking Stenhouse up, but I wasn't ready. Still not ready to part with Almirola yet. I just feel like he's on a bigger team than Stenhouse.
Yeah, you're being real patient with Almirola, man.
I am. It's just the Stewart-Haas factor.
I know.
It's hard to really. It seems like the big teams always find the front, and Stenhouse. Let's just be honest. I don't think JTG is going to win a race other than the Super. Had such a bad race. He's fallen. The Benedettos came up. I just think it's going to be hard for him to get his way back in unless he wins. I just feel like they're, like CJ said, they're going backwards, and I don't think it's going to turn back around anytime soon.
All right, let's talk about the Goodyear 400 and this race being held at Darlington. One thing I noticed, Eric, in your track trends, that the last 8 winners have started outside the top 5.
Yeah.
So lining up in the top 5 does not necessarily mean anything here at Darlington. It's a standalone 1.33 mile track, but you say Homestead and Atlanta are the most similar.
Yeah, it's an age surface. It's going to wear out. It's going to look a lot like Homestead, like almost like identical is what you're going to see. And applause to NASCAR. The low downforce package is back and more horsepower. So we're going to get an old Darlington. Afternoon start. It's probably going to be hot and slick. You're going to have a smaller spoiler, more horsepower. I think that's going to be even more like Homestead. So, yeah, it's finally. I think we're going to have a good Darlington race this weekend.
Okay. I'd like to see that happen. But no 2 tire stops or any of that stuff. It's all about tires.
4 tires.
Yeah. Okay.
You're tired. It's be like the Atlanta in the sense that you're losing time the more you go. So it's going to be, you're going to, kind of how the IndyCar race in Texas was last weekend. You figure out when you got to pit where you don't want to go too long to where you've lost time and the guys that have pitted are now catching you and it flips the sequence, but you got to find the right time to pit. So you're going to have crazy pit strategy, guys sliding around the Darlington stripe. You're going to finally see guys out of control.
I hope so.
And scraping the wall. So I think this is going to be one of the better Darlington races we've seen in a while, just because it doesn't have that high downforce or nobody's making any mistakes, follow the leader type deal.
By the way, don't forget, everybody, if you enjoy this show or any other show on our channel, please subscribe to our channel. Also, keep in mind, Eric has a lot of work in the IndyCar series as well, and we are going to start doing some more IndyCar content on this channel soon as well, especially with the Indy 500 coming up soon, Eric. So we'll be getting into that real soon. So IndyCar fans, we'll be doing something here on this channel, and also like the channel. That helps with the algorithms and everything else to get this channel pumped up, not just for NASCAR and IndyCar, but for everything else. The draft is over, so we've got a lot of NFL draft talk going on as well. Okay, let's now find out which 3 drivers we all picked this week. Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and CJ.
Was it Denny Hamlin?
No, Eric.
I think it was. I just posted this. It's a sleeper guy. It's in the towards the. It's the Benedetto.
You have him on your team.
Oh, Reddick.
Yes.
Reddick. Yes.
I knew it was somebody in the back.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be shocked if Reddick won. I'm shocked his odds were where they were. That completely shocked me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, that's the thing, though, is we've been talking about that for weeks. The parity is somebody's got to be down here because everybody cannot be favorite. The odds and Reddick hasn't won yet, but
nope. And remember, he was great. He finished second at Homestead. He's great on these tracks. He was great in this race. Last year, the first race back from the pandemic, he just
seventh.
Started 20, finished seventh. Incredible at Darlington.
So you're getting for what, 50 to 1, 60 to 1, something? 50 to 1. Yeah, that shocked me. Especially he's got what, 4 top 10s his last 5 or 3 top 10s his last 4, something like that.
5.
Yep.
And
so yeah,
he was second, third, and 16th in 3 Xfinity Series races. So yeah, Reddick is
50 to 1.
Reddick's a no-brainer. Long shot play this week.
Starting 10th.
What's that, CJ?
Starting 10th.
And starting 10th.
He's got a good.
There you go.
Follows the trend, and there you get a new winner, and he's outside the top 5. So
other sleepers that we didn't all agree upon them, but CJ, you went with Bell. You put a little. I was surprised you went with Bell this week. We know how good he's been this year, but he's kind of cooled off the last couple of weeks, and he did not have a top 10 in any of the 3 races last year.
Completely different car, completely different team. I think he's much faster this year. I haven't seen him get down and out by bad weeks so far. He's come well each time, so I think we're gonna see a unique Bell this weekend. And
remember, this package suits him. He's like a Reddick. He's a dirt guy that likes to run the tie line, completely make that car as loose as you can, which make it faster. Yeah, I almost went with Bell.
Okay.
I think he's going to be that guy. It's going to be riding right up against that wall, and you're going to be like, there is no space between that wall and his car. How is he doing this? And but that's the faster way around there. So yeah, watch out for him this weekend.
Also, let's see, CJ, you went with Jones because you're not the long shot sleeper guy. So your 2 sleepers besides Reddick was Bell and Jones. I also went with Jones. I mean, look, I understand why you didn't go with Jones, Eric, but it's just one of those things where, I mean, he's been here 6 times in the Cup Series. He's finished in the top 10 all 6 times with 4 top 5s and a win. And that includes last year when he had 2 top 5s and he didn't have really that good of a season. I guess you just ran out of cash, or you just completely don't believe in Eric Jones.
I believe in Jones. I don't believe in Petty. Not yet. Nothing against Petty. I just feel like he did that all with Gibbs, and Toyota's great there. And now you're putting him in a Petty car. I just low downforce in a Petty car right now. They don't have. I feel all lap down pretty early, and not
okay.
You're gonna see a lot of green flag runs because of that. You're not gonna be able to stay on the lead lap for long.
Also, you went with Buescher. I also went with Buescher. We both took Buescher at 100 to 1. You went with Chastain, put a buck on him at 200 to 1, and then I put some money on Suarez, Austin Dillon, and Di Benedetto. I'm surprised neither one of you guys put anything on Di Benedetto, considering he had a 9th place finish last year, 2 top 10s in his last 4 races at Darlington, and he is now on a 5-race streak this season where he just keeps getting a better result each time out, including 4th last time and 5th before that.
I just don't think this is the track for it. He's got the 2 top 10s, and yeah, he's been getting better. The rough surface, the unique nature of Darlington. If we were going to a place like a Charlotte or maybe a Texas, I think Di Benedetto would absolutely, or another 1.5 mile oval, or even a short track like a Martinsville or Bristol, Di Benedetto would have been on my list. But I think Darlington's just a little bit too unique for me to rely on that trend to continue this week.
And remember, Penske's not the greatest at that track, and they're a Penske Alliance, and none of them really did much at Homestead. So that's why I'm like, I think he just, because of this momentum, I think they're a solid top 10 for them just to keep it going. They'd be happy. So I was like, we're coming down to pick a winner. He'd be a good fantasy play. I think a good top 10 for him, but not a good, like a race winner per se.
And then the other long shots that I took, again, we both went with Buescher. 8th last week, 7th at Atlanta, very good at Homestead.
On a stage at Homestead. Yeah, he was really good.
Suarez, 2 Xfinity Series races, 3rd and 3rd. And again, he was 11th in 2019, coming off an 11th last week. Dillon, 6 top 12s in 9 appearances, including 2 top 5s, a runner-up last year. And he is on a nice little run. He's got 3 straight top 10s this year, and he's 50-1.
Yeah, those RCR cars between Dillon and Reddick, they're really running strong now. That you could make a case both of them should be playoff drivers. I think it's going to be an interesting mark here going forward. Can any of them win a race? Because we've seen 10 winners in 11 races.
That's
eventually,
right.
somebody's got to get hot. We're going to run out of winners. I think those two at this rate. I mean, we haven't mentioned Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott. They haven't won yet. So yeah, one of them might have to win, and they're hot right now. You got to capitalize on it, and this is a good track for both of them.
Both of you guys took Bowman. So what'd you like about Bowman, CJ?
2 top 10s, a top 5. He's running really well. He's got a race win under his belt now. Plus, he was a runner-up in the first race here last year, led 41 laps. Started second and finished second. Then in the fall race, he started 4th and finished 6th, led 1 lap. I think he's got momentum on his side. He's proven that he's good at this track. A little bit challenging with me to take him because of the fact that we've been getting new winners. So he's one who's already got a win under his belt. So to have him join Martin Truex as the only multiple winner so far this year might be a little bit of a stretch. But he's good at the track, runner up in the first race here last year.
But that's
I think too. He likes old slick racetracks. Richmond 1, Chicagoland 1, Fontana 1. Darlington, like CJ said, was runner-up last year. So these tracks, for whatever reason, suit him. The only thing is, it seems like every track he wins at, we don't go back to. So in Darlington, I don't think it's going anywhere. Chicagoland's closed, and Fontana we haven't been to in 2 years. So he joked that I guess we're not going to Richmond next year because I won there. But he's good there. For those odds, well, what was he?
19-1.
19 too good not to go for it. That right.
Eric, you and I went with Byron, hoping for a second win this season. He won Homestead. He's got 9 straight top 10s now on the season. 5th in, I believe, his last race at Darlington. So coming off his best finish ever at Darlington. He's just too hot. Matter of fact, Eric, you and I also put more money on him this week in our futures. He just seems to be for real as far as I'm concerned.
He does. I mean, he just seems top 10 every race since we left Daytona. He was 5th in the Southern 500. If you remember right, he was the top car in the first stage of the day race, this race last year, and he didn't feel that loose wheel or something. And yeah, it was a loose wheel. He didn't even feel it, and he spun and ruined his day from there. But he had a car to win that day too. So yeah, for those odds for him too, it was too good to pass up.
And Blaney at 16-1 is a nice number. It's just that this is also one of his bad tracks. He's never had a top 10. He's never led a lap, but he did win Atlanta.
Yep.
But you guys just are
I
staying
didn't
away
trust
from
him.
Penske this week. Is that the deal?
Yeah.
And a short answer, yeah. He needs to figure out, and this is same for Penske across the board. More importantly, him. Last year, this was the playoff opener. This way again this year. He's got to figure out a better way to start off because you got this in Richmond in the first round. Those are his 2 worst tracks. And to me, if I were them, I'm using this as a test session. I am trying to figure out how I cannot start off on a wrong foot again because look at last year. Great season. He just gets eliminated in the first round because 2 of his worst tracks the first 2 races. So you got a mulligan right here to just, you've already won, throw this weekend away and run something to try to better yourself for the playoff race.
Again, it just, how many times we have to keep saying it, it's just not fair. NASCAR has to change their playoff schedule every year. They just have to do it. It's just not fair to certain drivers who are not good at certain tracks to keep keep putting Blaney in a situation where these are his two worst tracks. I'm just really surprised, especially now. Maybe Ryan Blaney doesn't have the clout yet, but when he gets clout, maybe he needs to speak his mind a little bit more about that. All right, so now let's talk about Kevin Harvick, who has just been remarkable at Darlington. 10 straight top 10s, including 9 top 5s, a runner-up and 3 wins. He's coming off is probably his best race of the year, even though it wasn't like he led any laps, but he was that close from winning a race, and it's no surprise that we all went with Kevin Harvick this week, CJ.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick is just a no-brainer. He's got 3 wins at Darlington, so he's excellent. But I think more importantly for him, he's starting to get the traction that he needs, that he's lacked the season so far. So 2nd last week at Kansas, he was 4th at Talladega, which is a place he normally doesn't even finish at. So 2 top 5s in the last 2 races, 3 top 10s in the last 5 races, and then heading off to start on the front row at a track that he's won at 3 times and probably could have won at 3 times just last year. He started 20th, I think, and finished 3rd, led 10 laps in the 2nd of the 2 races or 3 races, and he won the other 2. So think of what he would have been able to do if he started inside the top 10 last year. That would have been another win, and he would have had 10 on the season. So I think he's a slam dunk choice this week.
Yeah, he's Eric. It's funny because just a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, we wanted nothing to do with Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, I think it's circumstantial for the tracks too. I mean, look at RCR. He led 63 laps total at Darlington. He's led 719 since he's joined Stewart-Haas. So, is he going to do that this weekend? He's got clean air. He's starting 2nd on the front row with Keselowski. It's going to be a tall tale, I think, this week to see. Yes. All right, 29 laps led on the season. Let's see what you can do now. You've always been good at Darlington. So this is going to tell us a lot about Harvick this weekend, I think.
Absolutely. If he doesn't lead a lot of laps, win the race, then they really have some problems. Also, you guys went with the top 2, Larson at 5-1 and Hamlin at 6-1. Larson's never won here, but in his last trip, he was runner-up. He has 3 top 5s in total. He has led a combined 500 laps at this racetrack. Matter of fact, he led 284 laps in the 2018 race when he finished 3rd, 4th at Homestead, dominated Atlanta until Blaney passed him late. The only issue with him is that the results just not really last week was a realistic 18th because he was right there in the top 5, but still 18, 19, 40. Hamlin, meanwhile, 3 wins, including last year. The only thing with Hamlin, though, for me, is he's only led 42 laps in his last 5 races at Darlington. And if you look at it, only 3 of the 17 races that he's led 100 laps, 2 he won, 1 was in 2nd. So it's almost like if he doesn't dominate, he's not winning. And I also just don't like the way that he's kind of cooled off a little bit too. But you guys like both these guys, and it's understandable why, CJ.
Yeah, Hamlin's got 3 victories at Darlington. He's been extremely fast every single week this year. He's been in a little bit of a rough patch. This is a place where he can come out. He's got a little bit better starting position this week after the drama of Talladega that knocked him down the starting order. So that's a good thing for him. But Kyle Larson, again, this is a track where I just can't wait to see Kyle Larson in a Hendrick car. Hendrick has been so fast. Larson has been so fast at this track. 284 laps led in 2018, like you said. I would not be surprised if once he gets out front, especially after the drama of last week and how frustrated I'm sure he is not to have won that. I wouldn't be surprised if once he gets out front this week, he doesn't let go of it and he leads every lap to the finish.
Yeah, out of the 2 drivers, Eric, I would definitely take Larson over Hamlin.
Oh, for sure. And I'm honestly shocked, maybe because of the parity this year. In the past, Larson would be probably 2-1 or 3-1. I mean, he's that good. You look at what he's done at Homestead and how good he's been at Darlington. And now you give him a Hendrick car, like CJ said. 5-1. Why not? Like, it's almost 5-1 to bet the mortgage on it. Almost. I feel like right now I'm handing Larson the championship, the Goodyear 400 race trophy. You got it, man. It's yours.
You only invested $26 on him out of your 100. How come you didn't invest more?
Because I keep because I keep.
See now that he's in the plus category, CJ, he's starting to get a little bit cautious. He's not gambling his money.
Once I
38,
get over 100,
38.
yeah, 38, yeah, not far. Once I get over 100,
plus 20, plus 20.
If I was over 100 to the good right now, I'd probably go 70 on him. I'd probably just go all out and hope for the better. But I'm still afraid to lose. And I go like plus
afraid
30.
to lose more than he wants to win.
Yeah, too competitive.
All right. You also went with Truex, by the way, CJ, and Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott, I think he's been artificially held down a little bit this year. I think if he's going to come back, certainly this is a place that he can do it. He started from pole in the fall last year, led 114 laps, led 28 laps in the middle race, the second of the two races back before crashing out. So I think he's got a good chance. He's also starting sixth. And then Truex has just been very, very fast and consistent each week. He's starting fourth. This is a place where he's won before. He's got 8 top 10s out of 17 starts. So just, I don't want to count him out. I don't want to count out either of them. I'm trying to keep the same consistency in terms of my strategy and how I'm choosing each week. And eventually I'll get out of that hole and catch up with Eric. But those are two just, I think Elliott's been artificially deflated this year. He can come back. This can be the week to do it. And Truex has been consistently fast every week.
Yeah, Eric, again, Elliott was the other of the three drivers that we all agreed upon. And I think it's just, okay, he's starting to show a little bit more, especially last week. He finished 5th, so that was solid. He was 4th in one of the races last year, as CJ mentioned, including the race that he led 114 from the pole. He's got an Xfinity Series win here. I put some money on him, like the second most. I kind of just feel maybe this is the time, but it was probably more about the odds of him being 11-1. How rare is it going to be for us to get 11-1 on Chase Elliott this year, especially if he wins a race? But I'm a little bit concerned with his results at Homestead and Atlanta too.
Yeah, that worried me just a little bit. But then I also looked at last year. If you think about it too, yes, he was 4th in the first race, the day race. In the second race, he should have won. He was spun by Kyle Busch, if you remember right. Denny Hamlin stayed out because he didn't have any tires. Kyle Busch on the restart tried to slide in behind Chase Elliott, who was second, and he clipped him and wrecked him. And then it rained, and Denny Hamlin won. So Chase Elliott was going to win that second race. And then the Southern 500, him and Truex wrecked while battling for the lead with like 15 to go. So you can make a case. It should have been Elliott, not Harvick, that won 2 of the 3 races. You look at the parity this year, Elliott hasn't won yet, and you're giving me the defending Cup champion for 11-1. It just combined all that. I was like, yeah, he hasn't been great at Homestead, or he wasn't great at Atlanta either. But look at what he did there last year. He hasn't won. He's 11-1. You got to just go with him.
And then finally, none of us went with Kyle Busch because winning back-to-back we know is very difficult. Even though he had a couple of good results last year, though he did not lead a lap, and he only has 1 win at the racetrack. Also, Keselowski, none of us went with Keselowski or Logano. 8-1 Keselowski, 11-1 Logano. Keselowski's got a win, and Logano has never won at Darlington. So, again, it just shows you, I guess the only, Di Benedetto? Me taking Di Benedetto is the only sign of anything Penske.
Yep.
For any of us this week. Okay.
I think if we could have gotten Keselowski at Logano's odds, I would have bit on that. Yep. But for me, I think Keselowski is too low given Penske's history here recently.
Yeah, Keselowski was 4th, 11th, and led 80 laps from the pole in the first race last year. Logano was okay, led 19 laps in one of the races, and then we told you Blaney just doesn't look good. Finally, who's got Kurt Busch?
On the fantasy?
That's who's got, yeah. Is that you, CJ?
Do I have Kurt?
Yes, you have Kurt Busch.
I think you got Kurt.
Are you worried?
No. No, this is typical Kurt Busch. He finds his place and he'll come in at a week when he needs to and he'll get it done. He's a veteran. He knows how to do it. If it were somebody, if Almirola were on my team, honestly, I would probably drop Almirola at this point. I've seen speed out of Busch. I haven't really seen speed out of Almirola. I'm comfortable with Kurt. I think he'll get it done by the time we get to the end of the season, to the playoffs.
Would you agree with that, Eric?
I agree. And I'll keep it short because I think the kids are about to walk in. So they're going to have a bunch of screaming kids walking in now.
All right, well, before you go then, racereviewonline.net, what are you working on?
NASCAR Homestead, Darlington stuff this weekend, and then back to Indy for the Grand Prix and the 500 the rest of the month.
All right. Well, again, like I said before, we'll talk a lot more IndyCar before the 500. Guys, appreciate it. CJ, RotoWire comes out tomorrow.
RotoWire.com. We'll have trucks, Xfinity, and NASCAR previews for fantasy, and then we'll have the race recap on Monday.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank
you.